how much of a mess the club is in. But we kick things off by welcoming Frank Leboeuf and Gab Marcotti. And Gab, it's with you that we start. Romelu Lukaku looks closer to returning to Inter Milan.
That's right. There were reports of a Zoom call between Chelsea and Inter scheduled for Monday, but they've been superseded because reports in Italy now saying that they were talking on Sunday night already. The main sticking point seems to be the loan fee that Inter need to pay Chelsea to have Lukaku for 1 year. The issue with his wages seems to have been resolved. He's taking a 30% pay cut. And on top of that, if Inter can sign him by June 30th, which is pretty much what they need to do if they want to bring him in, they can take advantage of essentially this tax deal that was offered to Lukaku when he first moved to Italy, obviously 2 summers ago. So at this stage, it looks very, very close. And the one sticking point is it going to be 10 million euros? Is it going to be 15 million euros? What is the price for this 1 year? And let's remember, it is just a loan deal, between 1 year deal between Chelsea and Inter.
Frank, this just seems to make sense for all parties, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, because, I mean, we already talked about that on the show with Craig, where maybe Lukaku didn't want to come to Chelsea, and at the end of the day, goes back to Inter, even if it's on loan. But it's a big price, a big transfer price for a guy who, in fact, goes back after a year on loan. I don't know. We don't know what's gonna be the future, but it's a big failure for the club, for the player itself, and it's sad overall for the fans because the expectations were very high and nothing happened. Hopefully, he's going to get the confidence back. What's going to happen a year from now, we don't know. But yeah, it's for me quite normal that he goes back to Inter and try to get his football back.
It's exorbitant though, isn't it? I mean, those kind of figures, we talked about it towards the end of the week for loan fees. It's just disgusting in my eyes because, you're taking a player on loan, you're taking the wages, you're taking them off the wages pretty much of the other club. Not always, sometimes there's a partial share. Sometimes a player has to take, as Gab said, a wage reduction. But, this is where money's just flowing out of the game, flowing away for certain clubs. 10 to 15 million pounds, euros, whatever you want to call it, down the drain when you're giving the player back in a year's time. So I don't know if Inter, I think they will reach a deal.
Yeah.
I think it'll reach a deal that will be in Inter's favour because they won't have to pay so much, but they'll still have to pay because Chelsea are pretty desperate, it seems, and the players pretty desperate to get this job done. And of course, Inter need the player too. So it's a bit of a shame because I wanted to see him come back and do well in England and propel Chelsea towards challenging again. I felt he had the ability. Whether he's everybody's favourite or not, I felt he had the ability to do so. But for whatever reason, football, team shape, back in London, or just the player himself, it just clearly hasn't worked and isn't going to work.
As a standalone deal, yes, 10 million as a loan fee does seem ridiculous, but we're a year removed from Inter receiving roughly, 100 million for Lukaku, for his services. And all of a sudden, they're getting him back for 10 million, albeit for a season after they've been knocked off of their perch at the top of Serie A by their city rivals. I think from a club's perspective, even at 10 million for just a loan fee, I think Inter are happy with that deal, given the money that they got from Chelsea last year for Lukaku. But it is, to Craig, to how Frank phrased it, it's a catastrophe for player and Chelsea, given Lukaku's feelings, when I thought those two certainly would have hit it off a lot better.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.